Hello, welcome to Steve's Retro Loft. Today I'm going to take a look at the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is a Spectrum I'm going to use primarily for any of the items on this show, so one of the first things you need to do if you've got an old Spectrum is take a look at it inside. As you can see, it's quite a clean unit, but because the unit's nearly 40 years old, I need to change the capacitors, maybe one or two other things as well. You may know the heatsink is missing. Here it is. I've removed that. The idea is I'm going to replace that with a small modern unit which is more power efficient and generates less heat, so the heatsink is no longer required. Once the capacitors are sorted, I'll then take a look at the modulator and then possibly just change it to be composite. So this is a issue 4S board. It's quite a clean board and it has a nice solder mask on it, which makes it easier to work on. It's one of the later boards with the last revision of the ULA in the middle of the screen now. This one's also fitted with an actual Zilog Z80 processor rather than the NEC variant. The ROM, for those interested, is actually an NEC ROM rather than Hitachi. The tarnished looking component at the top of the screen is a 7805 voltage regulator. This provides a steady 5 volts across the circuitry. However, it's quite inefficient and that's why it requires a large heatsink, but I'll be looking to replace this with a more power efficient unit as mentioned previously. The capacitor in the middle of the screen is traditionally where a Spectrum Plus would have its reset switch attached. Now, it appears that this has some wires, so the board may have come from a Spectrum Plus at some time, but it doesn't matter. It's going to get taken out anyway. As you can see, I've got all the components I need ready. Soldering iron, oversized industrial cutters, and capacitors from petroleum. The soldering iron I use is quite low power. It's an old unit, I'm not sure if you can get them like this anymore, but it's quite handy for this board because it's not going to generate as much heat to damage some of the tracks. You do struggle on some of the areas that have a large solder mask attached to the back of it though. So everyone, this is the moment of truth after the recap. Time to see if it powers up. The TV is tuned into channel 36, which is roughly what the Spectrum modulator was set to. I saw something. There we have it. Seems to work. Next things to look at are possibly changing the signal. The RF signal is not too bad on this one. My other Spectrum tends to be a little bit worse. But I had the intention to modify this for composite video, so there's some work I need to do on the modulator. And also the ULA traditionally gets quite hot, so I do have a heatsink which I'm going to apply to that now that I know it all works. So brilliant. Job done. The keyboard, I don't know, it should work. I've meted out the ribbon cable and that looks okay, but at this moment in time, not sure, but we'll give it a go. At least the important thing is the Spectrum appears to be working fine. work on the modulator to turn it into a composite video signal is quite simple. There's two wires, as you can see, going into the side of the modulator. What you need to do is detach those from the main board. Once detached, inside the modulator on the RF jack plug there's a resistor, so you just need to unsolder that resistor and then attach the electricity capacitor supplied in part of the kit, one end to the RF jack plug and the other end to the logic board. Right, again, moment of truth, and figure out how to get this into composite mode. Is it that? Is it probably AV? There you go, quite a clean image, and composite mod is quickly done. Now, note there are some effects on the screen. Now, I do have some capacitors to remedy that. These are known as the jail bars. So what I will do while I've got all my equipment out, these 4 capacitors which work on the lower video memory may be the ones that need to be changed. So I'll do those and try again. Right, now it's all done. I actually decided to change the transistors for the video mod as well. So here goes. These capacitors haven't really changed the jar bar effect too much, but other than that, everything looks okay. Let's get the picture size sorted. Let's get to 4:3 mode. Zoom mode, there you go. So it's not so bad. What I'll do is I'll put the keyboard on now, then get a cassette and see if it will load games, which, you know, hopefully should be fine. Right, now it's all together and looks like a Spectrum. Time to give it a treat with a jetpack. Well, there you go. 30 years later, I'm still useless at it. As well as the recap on the Sync Spectrum, I'm also going to take a look at the interface 1. Now this is quite simple, there's only 3 capacitors, but as you can see one of them is in quite an awkward position, so it takes a little bit of hard work to get this one actually removed and desoldered. Not too tricky, but as I say, it's just unfortunate it's quite fiddly with the edge connector being in the way. There's another typical Sinclair transistor mod that they stick on top of the chips because they didn't quite get it right out of the factory. Here goes after the interface 1 has been recapped. Don't know if this Microdrive actually works. Looking at the felt on it, probably not. I do need to re-felt a number of these. As you can see, the Spectrum and the Interface 1 are now working fine. Okay, I couldn't get anything to really load on the Microdrive map because I don't really know the history of a lot of those cartridges. They were from an eBay purchase from somebody in Germany, I believe, a long time ago, so I'm not sure what was on there. I need to go through them. I need to refelt some of the cartridges at some point as well. It's been an interesting process. The actual resoldering and recapping was quite a simple process for me. I've just ended up with a bag of bits I can bin. If you've not done resoldering or soldering before, I'd suggest you'd maybe practice on something less valuable. I hope you enjoyed the video, and now that the Spectrum's up and working, I can use it for some peripherals and some software and whatever takes my fancy. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, bye bye.